Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥 Sharma.
Good evening, aspirants. Welcome to the Hindu News Analysis discussion brought to you by ForumIAS for the date 24th of August 2023. These are the list of news articles for today's discussion. We'll be covering 5 topics from international relations, governance, a topic from science and technology, and from social issues. Alongside this, we will also be covering 2 previous year prelims questions at the end of the discussion. So with this straight away, let us move to our first article of the day.
Hello guys, good evening. This is Vijay. In our today's discussion, we had selected some 5 topics. So the first one, India's G20 opportunity for a African alliance. It came in the editorial section. So basically in this editorial, they have been discussing about the issues which are pertaining to African landscape, then the major players and their role in African continent, then what would be India's role in the future, and what are the potential India is having with respect to the African continent. So these are all the contents they have been discussing in the first article. Secondly, we are having an article related to North Sea route. So India and the North Sea route. This article, it came in the text and context page. So it is highly significant from the perspective of mains GS2 and mains GS3. Then thirdly, we are having an article related to e-com sector. So PM Modi seeks level playing field for smaller e-com companies. So this is the third one. Then fourthly, it is an article related to the sodium ion battery packs. So we are well known about the lithium ion battery packs, right? So with the advanced technology, sodium ions and all have been used in manufacturing the battery packs which are required for e-vehicles. So this is the fourth article we are having. Then lastly, it is an article related to BRICs. So we had discussed BRICs n number of times in the past 10 days, but in our today's discussion, we are going to discuss BRICs from a perspective from the prelims, right? So this is all with respect to the article section. Now, without any further delay, let us dive into the discussion part. This is the first article, guys. India's G20 opportunity for an African renaissance. Okay. So with respect to Africa, we need to know some basic facts. So the Africa, it is the second largest continent, and the literacy rate in the Africa is around 40%. And the region, it is highly diverse, not only in terms of environmental factors, but also from the socio-cultural and political factors, right? And with respect to this article, they have been discussing about the issues which are related to or which have been going on in the African continent. Then they have been discussing about the role which have been playing by the major players in Africa. Here, with respect to this article, they have been discussing about China and Russia and how the Western powers, they actually reaped the potential of Africa. So these are the few factors they have been discussing in this article. Then the article have been showing some highlights on India's potential in the African landscape and how India can potentially utilize the opportunity and how we can create a win-win situation between India and Africa. So these are all the stuffs it had been discussed in the article. And the author is Mahesh Sachdev. He is a retired Indian Foreign Service officer. So this is the basic outline with respect to this article, right? And with respect to Africa, we are well known the climate and the environmental factors are extremely popular, right? But the language, the linguistic factors, it also have been playing a vital role, because almost 25% of the universal languages, it have been getting speak by the people in the African landscape. So almost 2000 languages which are in use among the people who are living in Africa. So for every 100 or 150 kilometer, you will be witnessing a new languages, right? So this is what we need to know about the Africa. Then here, with respect to the article, they have been throwing highlights on the issues, right? What are the issues the Africa is having? The first one, they are having misgovernance. So because of the corruption and misgovernance, the hegemony, the African hegemony is getting crumbled, right? Then secondly, it is about the unplanned development. So we are well known after 1950s or after the Second World War. Each and every country, they have been striving hard to expand their urban landscape. But certain Western powers, they actually did the planned urbanization. Certain Southeast Asian countries also very popular for planned urbanization, but the countries which are locating in the Asian landscape and in the Africa, they are well renowned for their unplanned development, and mostly the cities and all have been developing in a haphazard way. Thirdly, the dominance of ruling tribes. In most of the countries, the majoritarian people, they will be suppressing the minorities, right? So with respect to India also, the issues have been going on. But with respect to Africa, certain tribal groups, their numerical count is extremely high, and they have been suppressing the minority groups. So it have been paving the way for social insecurity among the people. Then we are having corruption. So since 1960, we have been witnessing multiple news related to the corruption related activities among the headman of the political group, or it may be president of the countries which are locating in the African continent, right? Then in the recent times, we are also witnessing Islamic terror. Let me say one example. The Al-Bashar. Al-Bashar is the group, okay? Al-Bashar, they actively have been engaging in the pirated related activities, okay? They are also having a close contact with the terror outfits which are operating in the Afghanistan and Iranian landscape. So these Al-Bashar group, they have been providing logistic support to the terror outfits which are operating in the Afghanistan and the Middle East landscape. So primarily the Al-Bashar, they are helping those outfits in getting the advanced weapons in the international market. In return, the terror outfits which are operating in the Iranian and Afghanistan landscape, they formed a cartel with Al-Bashar in shipping the drugs to the external market. Then we are having climate change, food inflation, urbanization, and youth unemployment. These are all the minor issues which have been persisting in the African continent. Okay. With respect to this issue, the article, it had thrown some major developments which are going on in the African continent. So the first and foremost is African nationalists. They took pride in the continent having seen the last of generals in power. So this was the case before 20 years. Before 1960s, most of the countries in Africa, they were having autocratic forces in power. But because of the penetration of the Western ideologies and several other ideologies into the continent, the people who are become aware of their rights and they came to know about the values of the democratic forces. So they all clubbed together under the democratic umbrella and they waged a war ideologically against the autocratic forces which are in power. And in the course of time, these democratic forces, they were able to capture the power from the autocratic forces. So it all happened in Africa. But in recent times, certain countries like Egypt, Burkina Faso, Mali, the Niger, these all countries, they have been witnessing the restoring of power to the autocratic forces. So in all these countries, in all these 4 countries, the autocratic forces, they are able to come back to power. So it shows that in these countries, the democratic values have been fading away, right? So this is one of the major developments the author has been quoting. Secondly, he shows that the new disruptors such as the Islamic terror, the intertribal scrimmage, then climate change, runaway food inflation, urbanization, and youth unemployment. So these all factors, it have been crumbling the socio-political fabric of the continent. So with respect to Islamic terror, I already explained you, with respect to Islamic terror, the African environment, it is not only getting the weapon and ammunition alone, but it is also getting drugs. So these drugs, it have been affecting the health of the people who are living in the continent, and indirectly it have been straining the socio-political fabric. Then with respect to intertribal scrimmage, I already explained to you the majoritarian tribal group, they have been suppressing the minority groups. So it is not a unique phenomenon to Africa alone, because even in India also, we have been witnessing in some pockets the same phenomenon. Then the changing climate. Almost 50% of the continent, it is under the dense forest cover. and the unplanned urbanization and the prolonged deforestation, it has been resulting in the release of excess CO2 from the forest regions of the Africa. So it is also adding concern to the list. Then the runaway food inflation. Certain countries in Africa, like we are having Somalia, South Sudan, right? So these all countries, they have been suffering from the galloping food inflation. Almost the food inflation is between 50 to 80%. Can you imagine the intensity of the inflation? Then in certain regions, like South Africa and in Botswana, the food inflation is in the range of 10 to 12%. Almost it is in the creeping food inflation range, right? So these all factors, it have been affecting the social security and the political security of the countries. Then the author, he also shows about the urbanization, the unplanned development, as we have seen already. Then youth unemployment. Because of high unemployment rate which is persisting in the African countries, most of the youths, they are attracted towards various ideologies and they are actively participating under the several terror outfit groups. It have been affecting the health of the country, right? So these all factors, they have been straining the socio-political fabric. Then the author has been discussing about the Sahel region. In the Sahel region, we all well known about the Morocco and Libya and some other countries like Chad and all, right? In the Sahel region, the Africa has been witnessing the lowest temperature, which is in Morocco, almost minus 11 degree Fahrenheit. But in Libya, it has been witnessing that 135 degree Fahrenheit. So I hope you would have imagined the range between the lowest and the highest temperature, right? But these two countries are adjacent to each other. And in these days, the Sahel region, they are going through the misgovernance and unplanned development on the dominance of ruling tribes and corruption. So Sahel region is where the Arab Spring, it all started in the year 2012. In these days, especially after the pandemic lockdown, the region have been suffering because of the misgovernance and unplanned development, right? So these are the major developments the African landscape have been witnessing these days. So this is what the article have been discussing. And the article, it have been throwing lights on the major role which is played by the international players like Russia and China and Western forces. So with respect to economic domain, China's stake is extremely high. China has been Africa's largest trading partner and investor, and through its One Belt, One Road initiative, it almost pounded out hundreds of billions of dollars into the African landscape, and it involved itself in the erection of the linear infrastructure like roads, then ports construction, then mining activities. In all these sectors, the Russian investment is extremely high. It all started in the year 1994, okay? So since 1994, China has been investing in various domains in Africa, but in return, what it get? It didn't get anything fruitful from the investments what it make to the African landscape. It actually rolled out several credit lending plans, and it rolled out several amount of dollars in infrastructure, but it didn't get anything fruitful from the investments what it made in several countries in the African continent. So this is the author's viewpoint with respect to China. China has been Africa's largest trading partner and investor, but a slowing economy and the trade have reduced its appetite for Africa's commodities. Its Belt and Road initiative has raised the debts of some African nations to unsustainable levels, in turn causing them to cede control of some of their assets to China. So basically, the China have been following a debt diplomacy with respect to the countries which are in African landscape. But the investment what China had made is extremely high. So it may take some another 50 years or 60 years to take the return on investments what it had invested. Secondly, the author has been discussing with respect to the political role. So Russia previously promoted the Wagner Group in Africa. We all well known several countries in the Africa, they are actually witnessing terror activities from several groups, right? So Russia, it previously dispatched the Wagner Group to Africa, and they actively involved in Africa, and they almost curtailed the activities of the terror outfits which are operated in the Middle African countries and in the Western African countries. So, but in these days, Russia is under sanctions. After the special military operations, which it was launched on February 24th of 2022. So Russia, it came under sanctions of the Western forces. So Russia is not in a position to support Africa in the political domain. So this is what the author have been discussing. Then he is also throwing lights about the Western forces, the activities of the Western forces in African continent. Western forces, they are highly calculative. They will be pounding out each and every dollar for their return on investment what they are supposed to take. So this is how the Western forces will be working, and it is the way they worked in the past also. Okay, so these are the few basic facts the author have been making with respect to the international players. Then he is quoting about the role what India can play in the future. So in the image you can see the Russian presence and the Chinese investment in each and every region of Africa. So with respect to Russia, they actually involved in creating a major military partners, and they supplied several nuclear reactors to various countries, and they are also involving in mining of precious metals. And in return, they are also importing oil from these African countries, right? But with respect to China, they are actively involved in road and bridge construction and port infrastructure. Then in recent times, they are also actively involving in the mining sector related to gold, diamond, then platinum, etc. Okay. So with the help of image, I hope you can come to know how the Russia and China, they played actively in the political and economical domains, right? So yesterday, 15th BRICS summit was started, right? So this year the theme is BRICS and Africa, and in the theme itself, we have been emphasizing more on the African and their related domains. Then in the first week of September, we will be having a G20 summit where India can pursue the Global South agenda with Africa as a focus, right? So through the utilization of these forums, India can expand the interest of Africa, and India can engage with Africa in multiple domains with the collaboration of the like-minded partners in these two forums. So this is what the first point have been making. Secondly, India's ties with Africa is deep, diverse and harmonious that range from Mahatma Satyagraha against apartheid plus UN peacekeeping forces. So with respect to Africa, we are having a shared heritage with respect to the freedom struggle. So Mahatma Gandhi, he actually did a fasting against the apartheid, what it was present in the South African landscape. Okay. Then with respect to the UN peacekeeping forces, they are actively participating in restoring the peace and tranquility in the countries which are locating in Africa. Within that UN peacekeeping force, India is one of the major contributor. So we can expand our footprint in Africa with the active participation of the UN peacekeeping forces. Then with respect to the trade, although we are importing low amount of oil, gas and minerals from the Africa, still the trade potential hadn't been reaped. But right now, we are having a trade value of 98 billion US dollars. So this is the third point the article have been making. And in the future, if we are reaping the potential means, then we can escalate the trade value above 200 billion US dollars, because almost 54 nations are there. If we are expanding our footprint in the African nation means, then obviously the trade value would be enhanced, right? Then lastly, India is the fifth largest investor in Africa after China and Russia and some other Western forces. Till today, it had rolled out 12.3 billion US dollars in loans. So almost all the countries, especially in the eastern region and in the Middle Eastern African region, the countries which are looking up for the low interest credit from India. So with the help of credit diplomacy also, India can expand its footprint. Then what are the opportunity India is having? India can reap the potential through multilateral forums or bilateral arrangements. Okay, so we can utilize the potential of BRICS or the potential of the G20 summits, or we can collude with the like-minded partner countries through which we can expand the footprint in the Africa. So example, we can say the India-Africa Economic Growth Corridor, right? So with the help of Japan, we actually constructed the African Growth Corridor. So like that, with the like-minded countries, India can expand the engagement and it can pursue the interest in the African landscape in a fruitful way. And it should, I hope, it will create a win-win situation for almost all the partners who are involving in the engagements. Then being a G20 host, it can ramp up the engagements. So this year we have been hosting the G20 summit, right? So we can utilize the potential of G20 and we can expand the interest with respect to the African countries. Then it can coordinate like-minded G20 nations to create a permanent or semi-permanent platform to resolve the stalemate in security and socio-cultural domains. This is what I already told you. We can utilize the forums, the multilateral forums or bilateral arrangements to deepen the relationship with the countries which are locating in the Africa, and we can aid them to resolve the security related issues and the socio-cultural related issues. Okay, so this is what the article have been discussing. So primarily with respect to this article, we have seen what are the issues the African region is having and what are the major players they actively involved in the political and economical domain, and how the Western countries, they actually reaped the potential out of Africa. Then the article had discussed about the potential gaps which are present in the African landscape and how India can utilize those potentials, and what are the opportunities India is having with respect to the Africa. Okay, so this is what the entire article have been discussing. Now let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next one. This is the second article, guys. India and the Northern Sea Route. It came in the text and context page. Okay. So with respect to this article, we need to know what is meant by Northern Sea Route, right? So here in the image, you can see there are two focal points are there. One, it is a Rotterdam, which is in Netherlands. And here we are having Dalian, which is in the China. So between two focal points, we are having two routes. With respect to this article, we will be seeing two images. So please be aware. And the first route, which is the Northern Sea Route, and the second one is the Suez Canal route. So these are the two routes right now we are having. Okay. And moreover, with respect to these two routes, the transit time between the Dalian and the Rotterdam through the Northern Sea Route is only 35 days. But it have been taking almost 48 days to shuttle between Rotterdam and Dalian through the Suez Canal route, which actually have been traversing through the Sea of Japan, then East China Sea, then the South China Sea, then the Strait of Malacca, then the Indian Ocean, then the Strait of Gibraltar and the Red Sea, then it will enter the Mediterranean Sea, then it will reach the Rotterdam. So this is how the Suez Canal route have been functioning. But you know what it happened in the year 2021? There was a blockade in the Red Sea. The international maritime trade, it came to halt for almost 10 days. Okay, it actually costed millions of dollars for each and every countries who are involving in the maritime trade. In that scenario, every country, they actually realized the option of Northern Sea Route and they came to know about the potential of the Northern Sea Route. But you know one thing, almost 2 to 4 months alone, it will be the surface of the Northern Sea Route will be ice-free. In rest of the timeline, the surface layer of the water will be covered with the polar ice. Okay. So this is the hardest situation which is present in the Northern Sea Route lineup. With respect to the Northern Sea Route, Russia, it have been actively participating and it is having icebreaker fleet to clear up the ice which are covering in the surface of the oceans. So Russia is the one and only country, they are having a dedicated icebreaker fleet, and almost all the icebreaker fleet these days, what they are having is nuclear powered. So they no need to come up to the shore for on and off refueling and all. So once they loaded up the fuel into the carrier means, it will be in the marine surface for almost 6 to 9 months, right? So Russia states that they can provide the seamless connectivity between the Rotterdam and the Dalian with the help of the icebreaker fleet what they are having. And in these days, China is also looking up to expand its maritime fleet, especially the icebreaker fleets. Okay, so they are also doing investments with respect to the development of the nuclear powered icebreaker fleet. I hope so. The Canada and the USA, they are also having icebreakers, but they don't have any dedicated fleet. Okay, so almost 25 to 30 nuclear powered icebreakers are having by Russia. So with respect to the Northern Sea Route and the Suez Canal route, here in the image you can see that the container carrying vessels, almost 17,000 freight carriers are traversing in the Suez Canal route. But only one marine vessel, it actually travels through the Northern Sea route. So Northern Sea route is the budding route, and it will take a lot of time to reap the potential of the Northern Sea route, right? So here in the description, they states that it is the shortest shipping route for freight transportation between Europe and the countries of Asia Pacific region, right? Here in the image you can see. So almost 6,000 kilometer we are going to cut off by the utilization of the Northern Sea route. Almost 16,000 kilometers it have been taking to traverse through the Suez Canal route, but it is going to take only 10,000 kilometers in traversing between the Dalian and the Rotterdam through the Northern Sea route. So we are going to cut off almost 6,000 kilometers and we are going to save almost 13 days. So if we are having multiple vessels means, then the shuttling time will be reduced, then the volume of the transportation will be enormously high. Okay, so this is what you need to know. Then we are having one scientific paper data. So it states that scientific paper Arctic Institute, it states that 50% saving in time and resources compared to the existing Suez line. So that's what we had discussed here. Almost 50% of the reduction in the transit time, right? So this is what it have been stating. And the prime importance, the prime focus of Northern Sea route, it was occurred only because of the 2021 Suez blockage, right? And with respect to the Northern Sea route, the entire sea route, it has been traversing between almost 4 seas which are present in the Northern Hemisphere. So these are the few basic facts you need to know, because you can expect the question from this aspect. They might ask you the question, which of the following seas the Northern Sea route has been traversing. So that's how they can ask you the question, and they will be giving you some 4 or 5 options, right? So what are the driving factors of India to participate in the Northern Sea route? The first and foremost thing is the compound annual growth rate. The compound annual growth rate in freight movement in the Northern Sea route is growing, and it has been growing exponentially. That's what we need to know. So the data had been given here. The 2018, the year between 2018 to 2022, we almost witnessed 73% growth in the freight movement in the Northern Sea route. And here in the article, they had discussed about Murmansk. Murmansk is one of the important port which is located in the Northern Sea route shipment line. So where India is having a land share stake, almost 35% of all the freight it operates. Suppose let's say if 1,000 tons is the capacity of Murmansk, means almost 350 tons it is going to come to India. And moreover, in the post special military operation timeline, India has been importing enormous volume of coal, oil and natural gas from Russia, because at a cheaper price we are getting resources from Russia. So the imports from Russia has been growing up in a rapid rate. So that's what the Murmansk occurs huge significance. Then guys, in the year 2022, the volume of the cargo traffic, which is around 21.14 million tons. So it actually reflects the importance of the Northern Sea route in the future, because in the future, as we all well known, the CO2 emissions have been spiking up, and it has been stated that by 2070, there won't be any surface ice in the Northern Sea route, which means we can potentially harvest the Northern Sea route for our lifelines, especially in the economical domain, right? Then NSR is advantageous for India because of its geostrategic position and geographical proximity. So as we all well know, India is located in an Asian Pacific landscape. So if we are broadening the operation in the Northern Sea route, means in the future, it will help India to reap the benefits out of these operations. Okay. Then in the article, they also discussed about the Chennai-Vladivostok Maritime Corridor. So here in the image, you can see here we are having Chennai, right? Here we are having Chennai and here we are having Mumbai. So already there is one maritime corridor which exists between India and Russia, that is the St. Petersburg and the Mumbai Maritime Corridor. So the distance between the St. Petersburg and the Mumbai is almost 8,675 nautical miles. But recently, in the year 2019, India and Russia, they actually signed the Memorandum of Intent through which they proposed the Chennai-Vladivostok Maritime Corridor. And the distance between the Chennai-Vladivostok is almost around 5,647 nautical miles. So the entire Chennai-Vladivostok Maritime Corridor, it will be traversing through the Sunda Strait, okay? Then it will enter the South China Sea, then the East China Sea, then the Sea of Japan, then the Vladivostok. So this is how the route is going to function. So if we are operating the Chennai-Vladivostok maritime corridor, means we will be getting the access to the Northern Sea route. Obviously, in the future, we can also do a connectivity to the Northern Sea route, and we can reap the benefits out of the oil and gas imports from Russia. Moreover, we can also ensure the energy security in India in the upcoming days. So this is what the entire ideology behind the Chennai-Vladivostok maritime corridor, right? So the experts saying that the China and Russia, they are having collective influence over the Northern Sea route. As I already told you, the China, they are having billions and billions of dollars in their forex reserves, and they are looking for some new opportunities. As we have seen in the first article, they almost lost enormous resources in the Africa. So they have been looking for some new opportunity to reap the benefits out of their operations. So that's what the Northern Sea route, it actually possesses some lucrative options to the China. Okay, so this is what the article have been discussing. Then what is the importance of Arctic region to India? So here they have been stating that, in the article they have been stating that the region, it also constitutes the largest unexplored prospective area of hydrocarbons on the earth. So it is stated that the region is holding almost 40% of the current global resource of oil and gas. And there may be also reserves of coal, zinc and silver. So these all three elements, they are highly significant from the aspect of some novel initiatives what India have been taking in the electronic sector. And already, as I already told you, almost 60% of the power plant operations in India, they are coal dependent. And within India, we don't have any sufficient good resources of coal. Actually, we are doing an import of coking coal from Indonesia and from Russian landscape. So in the Northern Sea route region, if we are having more viable coal resources, means then obviously it will ensure the energy security of India in the upcoming days. So this is what the region acquires huge significance for India. Lastly, it has been given that the unprecedented changes in the climate may have an impact on India. So the impact may be in the field of economic security, water security and sustainability. So basically, with the engagement of Russia, we will be ensuring the energy security. And there won't be any new exploration in Indian landscape. So there won't be the excess pollutant load in the Indian atmosphere and Indian environment. So this is the basic ideology behind the initiative of Northern Sea route to India. So this is the article statement in the conclusion part. Okay. So in the future, if we are engaging in the Northern Sea route, means then we will be ensuring all the economic security, water security and sustainability. Okay. With respect to this article, guys, we have seen what is meant by Northern Sea route and what are the driving factors behind India's ambitious plan in the Northern Sea route, and what are the potential which has been present in the Northern Sea route. And we have seen about the comparison between the Northern Sea route and the Suez Canal route. Then with respect to the India and Russia relationship, we had discussed about the St. Petersburg, then Mumbai maritime corridor, then the proposed Chennai-Vladivostok maritime corridor. And what are the advantages Chennai-Vladivostok maritime corridor is having over the Mumbai-St. Petersburg economic corridor. Okay. So these are the few stuffs we had discussed. Then in the conclusion, we had discussed about the author's viewpoint over the proposed North Sea route in the importance of Arctic region to India. So these are the few stuffs we had discussed in this discussion part. Now let us close this article here. Let us move on to the next one. This is the third article, guys, and this is just an informative article. Okay, so in this article, the PM states that we are in a dire situation to ensure the equitable competition between the large and small vendors in the e-commerce space. And we are also supposed to empower the small enterprises to integrate with the global supply chain. So this is the statement made by the Prime Minister in the G20 Trade and Investment Ministries meeting. Okay, and in that he also states that MSMEs in India, roughly they are accounting for 60 to 70% of the employment, and they are contributing to almost 50% of the global GDP. So it proves that by ensuring the equitable competition in the e-commerce space, we can expand the contribution of the MSME to the global GDP. So this was the statement made by the Prime Minister. And he also states that the Jaipur initiative, which is the initiative, it proposed to foster the seamless flow of information to MSMEs, right? Because under the government protocol, they are having a provision to acquire some 60 to 70% of the goods from the MSME. So for that, they will be requiring some informations, right? So the market and business related informations and all will be provided to MSME through the Jaipur initiative. So this is the proposed plan. So with the help of the Jaipur initiative, it is expected that in the future, with the help of the seamless informations which are flowing between the MSMEs, we will be reaping more benefits out of the operations of the MSME. Okay, so this is the glimpse of the article, and this is just an informative article. Okay, now let us close this article here. Let us move on to the next article. This is the fourth article, guys. Startup AR4 sodium alloy to make up sodium ion battery packs. So AR4 is a startup entity. It belongs to India, and Sodium is a high-tech technological company which is located in Singapore. And these two entities, they collaborated together to manufacture a sodium ion battery packs. Okay, so in the article it has been described that the semi-automatic plant will be established in Coimbatore, and it will be having a production capacity of 100 packs every day. Okay, so this is what the article have been describing, and with respect to this article we need to know what is meant by sodium ion battery packs and what is the difference between the sodium ion battery packs and the lithium ion battery packs. Okay, so these are the stuffs we are supposed to know. And here in the image you can see, so here sodium is more than 500 times more abundant than lithium. So the availability is extremely high, therefore the price is very low because the source is ubiquitous, right? Then the lithium availability is limited to a few countries, which is why the prices have risen more than 7-fold since 2021. So between 2021 to 2023, the prices almost increased 7-fold. And most of the lithium, almost 60% of the lithium, it has been coming from the lithium triangle, which is located in the South American continent. Okay, so A, B, C, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia. So these are the three countries, they are having enormous lithium resources. Then apart from these three countries, China and Australia is also possessing huge resources. And in these days, before 6 months in India, we actually found one potential mining in the Jammu and Kashmir region, right? Then sodium is more environment friendly and can be transported 0 volt, making it safer. So there is no need to charge the sodium battery packs before the transportation. We can do a transportation at a 0 volt. Okay, so it is potentially safer than the lithium. Then lithium is less environment friendly than sodium and must be always stored with a minimum charge and increasing fire risk. So this is also we know, right? Because the lithium mining exploration, they have been incurring huge amount of water, and the related environmental impact is extremely potential. But with respect to sodium, we don't have any potential hazard over the mining and or over the extraction, right? So this is what it has been describing here. Then thirdly, a sodium ion battery uses aluminum, which is cheaper than copper. So between sodium ion battery packs and lithium ion battery packs, we have been using copper anode and cathode in the lithium ion battery packs. But with respect to the sodium ion battery packs, we have been relying upon the aluminum electrodes. Therefore, the price wise, the aluminum electrodes are comparatively cheaper than the copper. Then sodium ion battery has a higher operating temperature range, which means the bandwidth of operating temperature is extremely high in sodium, but with respect to the lithium ion battery packs, the operating temperature range is very low. Therefore, they are more prone to fire. Then lastly, sodium ion battery charges faster than lithium ion variants and have a 3 times higher life cycle. Lithium ion battery has a slow charge rate and smaller life cycle compared to the sodium based batteries. But with respect to these operational efficiencies, it has been stated that the sodium ion battery packs, they are actually facing a sudden drop in the voltage delivery. So these lacuna and all need to be resolved. Then only in the future, we will be getting efficient sodium ion batteries. So this is the brief of the content what they had provided in this article. Okay. Now let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the last article. This is the last article, guys. BRICs to add 6 new member countries, right? So here with respect to this article, we are not going to discuss anything brief about the BRICs, but here we are going to discuss who are the new members going to get inducted into the BRICs forum. Because for the past 10 days, we have seen numerous articles related to the BRICs. That's what in today's discussion, I am going to cut short the discussion with respect to this article. So yesterday, the BRICS countries, they announced that they are going to induct 6 new members into the forum. And it all happened in the 15th BRICS summit at Johannesburg. And PM Modi, he states that this move, it would reinforce the cooperation among the member countries, and in the future it will ensure the multipolar global order. So this was the statement made by the PM. And with respect to the members who are going to get inducted into the forum, we are having Argentina. Argentina is one of the major player in the Latin American region, and they are having vast amount of the potential lithium resources, right? So in the future, it is expected that India is going to broaden the cooperation with Argentina to import more amount of lithium. Then we are having Iran, Saudi Arabia. These two countries, recently they normalized their relation under the brokerage of China. And along with United Arab Emirates, these three countries, they are actually a potential player in the international market with respect to the fossil fuel production and the natural gas production. Okay. Therefore, the better coordination among the member countries, it will ensure India's security in the long run, right? So apart from these member countries, we are having Egypt and Ethiopia. So Egypt is also one of the active player in the Middle Eastern region. And we are having Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a developing economy. And in the future, it is expected that Ethiopia is going to reap the benefits out of the cooperation among the all member countries, right? So this is with respect to this last article. Here, with respect to this article, I am having one suggestion to you. Just memorize all the member countries who are going to be in the forum, okay? Because UPSC, they may ask you questions related to the members which are present in the any forums, right? So if BRICS is going to add 6 new member countries into the forum means, then it will be a potential area for the UPSC prelims. And what are the significance? The organization, it is going to become more global south, except Russia. Even though Russia is having a ideology which is aligning with the global south countries, but Russia, it doesn't belong to the global south bloc, right? So except Russia, almost all the countries who belong to the global south club. Therefore, it will reinforce the ideology of global south in the BRICS forum in the upcoming days. Then all the countries, they are having some shared interest in the economy, because all the countries, they are striving hard for their achievement in the economical domain, and they are all coordinating together. And with respect to the historical perspective, except Russia, almost all the countries, they face the wrath of colonialism in their past. So this is the implication of the induction of the 6 new members, right? So let us wind up the discussion part here. Now it is the time to move on to the question section. But before getting into the question section, let me give you a brief recap. The first article in our today's discussion was related to the G20 and the Africa. Okay. So this is what we had discussed today, and where we have seen about the major developments in the issues related to the Africa, and what are the players who are actively participating in Africa, and what would be the role for India in the future. So this is what we had discussed in the first article. Then we had discussed an article related to the Northern Sea Route. So in that article, we have seen about what is meant by Northern Sea Route, and what are the differences exist between the Northern Sea Route and the Suez Canal route. Then what would be India's role in the future related to the Northern Sea Route. So these are the few stuffs we had discussed in the second article. Then we had taken up an article related to PM recent announcement related to the e-commerce space, right? So, and we have discussed a few basics facts related to the Jaipur initiative. So this is the third article. Then fourthly, we have seen an article related to sodium ion battery packs. Okay. So this is the fourth article we have seen. In that, we actually discussed about the deal which exists between the Indian startup and the Singaporean company. Then we have seen the distinguish between the sodium ion battery packs and the lithium ion battery packs. Lastly, we have seen an article related to the BRICs. So in the last article, we had just discussed about the induction of the new members into the forum. So this is what we had discussed in our today's discussion. Okay. So now let us move on to the question section. So this is the main question for you. Critically examine the ambitious Blue Water Revolution plan. Elucidate the measures what India can take to propel the blue water economy in the context of Northern Sea Route. Okay. We actually made a discussion related to the Northern Sea Route. You just correlate the Northern Sea Route with the Blue Water Revolution plan and try to frame the answer for this question. Then secondly, we are having a prelims question. Consider the statement related to the sodium ion battery. So the power output is highly reliable than lithium. So this is the first statement they have been making. With respect to sodium and lithium ion battery packs, lithium ion is having highly reliable power supply or power output compared to the sodium ion battery packs. But we are waiting for a technological breakthrough with respect to the sodium ion battery packs to become more efficient. Okay. So the first statement is wrong. Secondly, we are having an statement related to the electrodes. The aluminum is the electrode component in sodium battery packs. This is true. I already told you about the anode and the electrode, anode and the cathode, right? So with respect to sodium ion battery packs, we have been using aluminum for manufacturing the electrodes. But in the lithium ion battery packs, we have been using the copper. So the price of the copper is almost 2 times higher than the aluminum. Okay. Then they are thermal insensitive. So the sodium ion battery packs, they are thermal insensitive, and moreover they can operate in a high operating temperature ranges. Okay. So this is the third statement, but the operating temperature ranges of the lithium ion battery pack is very small. Okay. So therefore this third statement is also true. We are having 2 statements are correct. Answer option B is the right one for prelims question number 1. This is the second question, guys. The Northern Sea route is available for shipping throughout the year. Okay. So the Northern Sea route is available for shipping only 2 to 4 months. That's what the Russia, they tailored the dedicated fleet of icebreakers, the nuclear power icebreakers, to provide the seamless communication between the 2 ends of the Northern Sea route, right? So the first statement is wrong. Secondly, the Suez shipping route is not having surface ice throughout the year. So this is true. Okay. So the answer option 2 is the right one for the question number 2. Finally, we are arriving at the end of the discussion. I hope you would be liking this discussion. Kindly share it to your friends and subscribe ForumIAS in all social media platforms. Let me catch you in another discussion tomorrow. Bye.